2 games in, it's 3 points for Pompey. Now we're back on the road as we face our toughest fixture of the season so far. The Hawthorns holds bitter memories for the Blue Army after a 5-1 routing in January. But can John Messino's men set the record straight today? Wherever you're watching in the world, stay with us for the latest news, full build-up and analysis before that kick-off time at 3 p.m. British summertime here on Pompey Plus. So hello, thank you for joining us. I'm George Wedlake. 1 win and 1 defeat. That's the story so far for Pompey. But what does chapter number 3 in the second championship season hold? If you're watching us on social media, your coverage ends in less now than 30 minutes time. So if you want to listen to the game or watch it with us this afternoon, get yourself over to Pompey Plus. But remember, coverage availability does depend on your region. And alongside me on the balcony this afternoon, we have Paul Robinson and Mark Kelly. Hello.
How are we doing, George?
I'm good. Are you ready to go? Raring to start? First one of the season?
Yeah, looking forward to my debut this afternoon for this season. Yeah, raring to go and see how the lads do.
Yeah, Mark, we were obviously here last week. It was a tough one to take, as defeats always are. But with what Pompey offered up, especially in that last 20 minutes, it looked like we maybe could have got something from it. But if you concede twice in the opening 15, you give yourselves a mountain to climb, don't you?
Absolutely. In the way that, the goals, the way they were, set pieces, balls, direct ball straight into the box, didn't really defend it too well. Doing it once is not good. Twice, puts yourself under massive pressure. But we said at half-time, didn't we, if Pompey need to get a bit closer to the game. Norwich were popping us off a bit too much, really. We did that. We got tighter, we got closer. Dazelle was our man of the match. He got in and around it, started to break things up, and last 20 minutes, I think everybody that watched that game we should have taken a point, really. Hit the bar. Colby Bishop penalty save. You go through the chances that we had, so we could have taken something from it, but it's the start. You can't give yourself two goals behind simply and quite softly, really, from set pieces the way we did. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion around that this week. Yeah,
so we started off the season away from home at Oxford. Pompey dominant in the first 45. It was a different story here at Fratton last week. It's just about marrying up the two halves, isn't it, and seeing a complete performance for 90 minutes. Yeah, that's right. I'm sure that John this week, they've had a full week of training, haven't they? He's probably trying to bring that together on the training pitch. And probably one of those as well as a manager, it really frustrates you because you think, you've got what you need. And like you say, you come in at Oxford at half-time, I think you have been excellent. And then second half, can't find that same thing. And then last week, for whatever reason, they start the game that way. And then second half, they come alive. That's the challenge for John. That's what he's got to try and get out of his team. But probably knowing that if they do put a complete performance together, then they've got a really good chance of getting a result. And where did Pompey shine last week in particular? Because obviously it was a defeat, but there were still some positives we could have taken.
Oh, especially last 25 minutes, half hour. In and around their box, we had so much of the play, so much of the ball at that point, and the bits I think that would be talked about was the quality. We talked about the quality of delivery wasn't quite right. Things just weren't quite right. But it'll take a lot from that, because as soon as we did started to apply pressure, got closer to the game, got bodies around the ball, we actually caused them lots of problems. And as I say, we should have really, fundamentally come away with a point, I think, at that point. But plenty in the second half to look at, to go with. But first half, you got to look at, and our distances weren't quite right, things weren't quite right, and we've got to try and get that 90-minute display, as you said.
As someone who has found their feet quite quickly in English football is Adrian Segecic. 2 goals from 2, an assist in the Carabao Cup as well, so he's looking quite strong, isn't he? Yeah, looking really bright, isn't he? I'm really looking forward to watching him this afternoon. I've obviously seen the highlights, seen the clips of him. He looks really positive and obviously had an effect in that central role, but obviously they moved him out to the right last week as well, didn't they? And he had an effect there as well, and then, like you say, eventually gets that goal. So he'll be really pleased. They'll be pleased with the way he's settled in, coming over from Australia, and looking to obviously build on that over the next, coming games. Yeah, obviously plenty of plaudits going to Adrian Segecic. Some expectation on his shoulders already, but he doesn't seem the sort of player that will let that bother him at all.
He's not the type at all, is he? He's like a little pocket dynamo, isn't he? He's one of those that just lights up. He gets on the pitch, you can see, he's enthusiastic. He just wants to be part of the game, and he really, really brings that to the pitch. So, that's why I think Pompey fans will take to him really quickly. You can see that there's already a bit of affinity going there, especially with the goal scored last week. You can see he's a finisher. He's got that lovely little touch and shift about him because he's small, and he really knows how to find the back of the net. So I think he'll be a real asset this season.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's West Brom. They're the opposition today, and here's how it stacked up last season. Be warned, it doesn't make for especially pleasant reading. So it was 2 defeats for Pompey against the Baggies last season, an 8-1 aggregate defeat if you look at it that way. But Paul, a new manager in Ryan Mason, but they're a strong side, aren't they? We were discussing their team earlier on, and they've just got names throughout.
Yeah, their team has got names throughout, their bench has got names throughout, hasn't it? And that's this division, isn't it? There's big teams in this division with big budgets, and that's Portsmouth's challenge really, and it's trying to match that, trying to find a performance that can compete with that, and trying to find that level consistently. I think that is the thing with the Championship, it's that week in, week out consistency. Like you say, teams you come up against, your Norwiches, your West Broms, they're just full of high profile players, a lot of money to spend, and it's how they find that edge to compete with that. And it's a challenge this afternoon. I think we were talking before, weren't we? We both did the West Brom game last season, and it felt like a team that it was a really busy period for Portsmouth, wasn't it? It felt like maybe John used that game as one to perhaps give a couple of players a rest. Started well for 20 minutes, and then after that it all fell apart, didn't it? So it'd be a real challenge, and obviously just to show how far Portsmouth have come, really, just to go up there and then put in a performance and see what they're about.
Yeah, some transfer news coming in then during the week. 27-year-old Josh Knight has signed a 3-year deal after signing from Hanover 96. The 7th signing of the season, Paul. Seems like a solid defender, Championship experience as well. He played for Peterborough and Wickham in the past, notching up 73 Championship appearances. A strong addition to that back line.
Yeah, it is a strong addition, and it's something that, listen, you've got to have, rivalry positions, and as we said, centre-half pairings last year were far too great, so I'm sure he just wants 3 or 4 lads that he can get in and settle in. As you say, Josh certainly has got Championship experience, and big, strong, aggressive centre half, which is what you need. And I think they've been tracking him for a while. But as I understand it, George, I think I think they've been looking at the boy for quite a while, and now they finally got him across the line. So he'll be a welcome addition, because I think you want 3 or 4 good centre halves in and around it, all vying for it, and something that we really, really missed last year.
Yeah, and a bit of competition is never a bad thing, is it? It could spur you on, can't it?
Yeah, competition for places is a really good thing. I think like you said last year, you can't have too many centre halves, can you? It's the bedrock of your team, and probably didn't help Portsmouth throughout the season to consistently put that run of games together. With those performances, I think they probably looked at it and thought they conceded far too many goals last year, and they can find that really strong centre half pairing this season. I think it will really, really help them, and especially for those forward players as well. Knowing they've got that solid base behind them allows them that freedom to go and play and express themselves.
It was always going to be the big red flag, wasn't it, this year? When you had that kind of unsettled approach that we had last year, your centre half pairings were obviously, you need to get one. Obviously, we brought Matthews in, who's going to be a good addition when he gets running. But it's nice to have 3 or 4 really, really vying for that spot, because you need that, and that's something we just didn't have. And if you're going to survive in a league like this, you've got to have that in your locker. You've got to have that in your squad. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how we line up in the next few minutes or so. But here's a very quick reminder of Pompey's homecoming to Fratton Park last week.
4 of their past 5 opening days, including where Oxford last season. Free kick to come into Pompey's penalty area. Nunez to deliver. Not a bad delivery. A header from Darling is into the net. It's so easy. Harry Darling's first goal for Norwich. He was completely unmarked just outside the 6-yard box, and neither goalkeeper forced into a save as yet. Oh, Schmidt's given the ball away, that's careless, and there's a chance for Sargent to make it 2, and Schmidt makes up for the error with a great save, and Sargent knows he should score that. Right, it's a good chance for him, Sargent. Gazelle waiting in front of the Milton end. Murphy comes short to the near post, and it's gone to Murphy just inside the penalty area, and he's tried to curl one, and it's loose, and it's a brilliant save. I don't know how Regan Paul hasn't put Pompey ahead then. Kovacevic has saved from point-blank range. Derby 1, Coventry 1. The All-Midlands clash. Long throw into the area, flicked on, real danger, and it's into the net! And Norwich have got a second. Josh Sargent, Pompey not able to deal with a long throw. He will cross this to the far post. No, he won't. He'll go to Bianchini, who can cross it. Deflected back to Ogilvie. This has got to go to the far post, and the defender sticks a leg out, and it's a good bit of defending. And then Bianchini's fouled, and it's a penalty kick to Pompey. And Fisher knows straight away and looks to the ground. Kovacevic, right-footed, Colby Bishop will strike it, and it's saved. Kovacevic goes to his left, guesses right, and saves it. Swift's got it. Ogilvie coming out to this left-hand side. needs some support from Bianchini, gets it here, chance to get a cross in, and instead he'll go infield to Segecic. He's going to shoot from here, and he'll score! Segecic! It's a lovely effort from the Australian. 2 in 2 for him, slammed into the bottom corner. Right, in it comes. Segecic to the far post. Norwich win the first header. Swift edge of the box. Swift hits it off the bar. Oh, inches away, and a foul, and Norwich will clear their lines. And they're 90 seconds away.
So let's leave that behind us and move on to this afternoon. Here's how Pompey line up. 2 changes. Lang and Williams make way for Bianchini and Zach Swanson. So firstly, Mark, looking at that Pompey team, we knew the Callum Lang change was going to happen.
Yeah.
But a change at right back there, Swanson coming in and Williams dropping out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a good bit of competition, isn't it, to go with. So we don't know whether that's an injury or was it forced or he's just choosing to do that, but which is good because it shows the competition there. But yeah, no major surprises. It will be nice to see how Bianchini does from a start and coming on, and we saw little snips. He's obviously won the penalty there, so little bright bits in between where we saw last week, but it will be nice to see him start and see what he brings to the team. Yeah,
we were touching on the centre-back pairing. This is the 3rd time this season already in the Championship that Regan Paul and Conor Shaughnessy have lined up. So already an improvement on last season.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think we just wanted to see them together as a pair of that run of games. I think it takes you that little run of games to get into your stride. I think last week where you play that 3 games in that first week, I know a few were rested for the cup game, but I always felt that had me set for the season. And I got that first week under my belt, I'm ready. And then, like I say, they've had a really good week's training this week. And those two, I think, just keep improving that understanding, get used to playing with each other week in, week out. And like I say, even just as a back four as a whole in front of the keeper, I think it's just a really, really positive for the team.
So Josh Knight not featuring in the team today, just too early for him at the moment after signing on Thursday?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's just walked into the building, hasn't he? And, you know, at this level, you'd expect him probably not to come in straight to start. You know, he's got to know the lads, he's got to find out. And as Paul rightly said, you know, you've got the 2 lads that are there trying to build a partnership anyway. So, you know, he's going to have to get himself in and around the ground and, you know, try and get himself into the team. So that's going to take probably a little bit of a while for him. But, yeah, I mean, listen, there's plenty of time. But just walking in on Thursday is not an ideal way you start a week. So I'm sure the lads probably don't want to take that risk at the beginning, which was probably about right, I think.
And John Swift starts alongside Dazal in the midfield there. Made 118 appearances for West Brom in 3 years. What's it like going back to an old club? I mean, it must be, on one half, quite exciting. You want to, you know, prove a point, but at the same time, you don't want to make mistakes. They're going to be on you.
Yeah, a little bit of that. It does bring that extra side to you. I don't know how or why. You just got that feeling in you, like you say, a place you know so well. You go back to it, you see everyone you know on the way in, but always inside you that day is that, you know, you're really, really desperate for the day to go well. You want to put in a really good performance. And also, I think, you know, I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed that challenge. I remember coming back here with Wimbledon as well, playing at Portsmouth. And there's people there you want to see. Obviously, then I was playing against Cookie's team, so it might have been one where you want to get one over on them as well. But yeah, I think it does add an extra edge to the game. And I'm sure he's really excited to go back there because also as well, it's quite nice to say goodbye to those fans, really. You don't always, as a player, you kind of slip away from the club sometimes. So when you go back, it's that chance to maybe see the fans and kind of have that goodbye with them as well a little bit.
And we were here last week when Callum Lang picked up a hamstring injury. John Messina has described it as better than we feared, but it's still somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks if John Messina is to be believed, which with these injuries, sometimes
he's playing the game a little bit.
Yeah,
fair play to him. He can play that game. I think we knew straight away. You see him there, he's holding it.
He knew straight away as well,
He knew straight away. So he gets up, he knows he's done it. But obviously, it's a recurring injury. He had it last year, so that's probably why they're being a bit cautious about 4 to 8. It's very hard to call it, and because he's obviously it's a recurring problem. So, listen, it's got to be right. Those types of things, you've got to get, you can't take half a risk with it, because if it goes again, that's you kind of, out for a long period. So they'll be conservative and they'll say 4 to 8 because, it's hard to gauge those things, and he's had it before. So, hopefully it's more 4. But, if it ends up being, you've got to make sure those kind of injuries are right.
Have you had any repeat injuries at all over your career, Paul?
Yeah, I've had a couple, and it's not a nice feeling, really. And like you say, you can see, I think, more the disappointment. It's like, oh no, not again. You can almost feel that feeling coming out of him, can't you? And like you say, you just know you get that feeling, and sometimes even in that moment, it's a bit like, you're back in the gym for however long, you're on those solitary
weeks
sessions.
Of rehab,
you've got to go
Paul,
straight back to that. Yeah. And each time that it goes, it just wears you down that little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and that's where your mentality comes in, just to keep staying strong on it.
Yeah, obviously we've seen him twice this season so far in the league, and he's been raring to go from minute one all the way until he comes off for whatever reason. He's one of those players that just battles from start to finish. How much of a miss is he going to be for the team over the next 4 to 8?
The nice thing is there's people been brought in, there's people been brought in to try and get that competition going. So that's a nice opportunity for them. For us, he's a big part of the team. We know that. There was clubs trying to chase him around the summer. Everybody's wondering, would he go? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? So, listen, we all know he's a big part of the fabric of the team, and of course his enthusiasm, what he brings to that attacking prowess, is huge. But as I said, for the likes of Bianchini now, you come in, you've got an opportunity, go and take it, and that's the point. That's what squads are meant to be about.
And also Zach Swanson starts for the first time since Derby here last April, what's known as Rob Atkinson Day. So he's going to be wanting to prove a point this afternoon as well, isn't he? Being out of the starting 11 for the previous 2 championship games. Yeah,
that's right. Obviously they've gone with Williams in the first 2, and he gets his chance today. It'd be a tough challenge up against obviously Mikey Johnson, who comes in for West Brom, but I'm sure he'd be looking forward to it. And we said about competition, I think it just keeps both of them on their toes, really. I think John probably looks at it, he's got 2 decent right backs there, perhaps with different qualities. Maybe he thinks Swanson adds him perhaps that little bit more defensive stability, and maybe when he's looking to be a bit more attacking, he puts Williams in. So I think that they've both got good qualities and probably complement each other quite well, and it's really good for John to be able to sort of mix and match throughout the season as he sees the challenges come along.
So Paul mentioned there Mikey Johnson starts on the left for West Brom today. Let's have a look at the rest of their lineup now. So, Robbo, you've been diving into the opposition today. Can you pick out some key players to keep an eye on? Obviously, one of those is young Isaac Price. There at the number 10, we believe.
Yeah, that's right. He's obviously top scorer for West Brom, but also top scorer in the division. He's got 3 in the first 2 games. He's made a real impact this season. Obviously signed in January, come in as a bright and 21-year-old, and really seems to have settled in well. But also it seems to be thriving under Ryan Mason. I think Ryan, obviously being an attacking midfield player himself, quite technical, like getting on the ball. He's obviously really going to help players in that position of which Isaac Price plays, and he's had a real impact. And again, maybe a few familiar names as well in and around it. I think Alex Mowat likes to score against Portsmouth all the time, doesn't he? So there's one that you see. Jed Wallace, obviously, we know as well. We'd obviously like to keep him quiet on the pitch. I don't know if we can keep Jed quiet off the pitch ever, can you?
It's not going to happen.
You always hear him, but yeah, on the pitch, I think they'd like to do that. And there's always that former player vibe that always comes along that we're hoping works for obviously us with Swift. But Jed, I'm sure, will be really eager to get on the pitch today and make an impact in the game. But like you say there, you just got on the screen there, Price's impact this season. Started really well, scored goals, got an assist as well in the cup game. Looks to be thriving. He's got real good athleticism, and also he's got real intelligence about him. And if you put those 2 things together, you've got a really good player. And he's had a real impact for Northern Ireland as well. Scored 9 goals for them in 22 appearances. And I think Michael O'Neill has got a real high opinion of him, has really sort of lauded his effect on their team. And I'm sure that West Brom will be looking to get the best out of him this season.
Yeah, and he started off very well, the opening 2 games for West Brom, a standout for them. How do you keep someone like that quiet this afternoon?
Well, looking at the formations, obviously both teams play a very similar formation, so that midfield area should be quite well matched up. And it'd just be about dealing with that threat. I think it's winning that midfield battle. Obviously, they've got Malumbi and Mowat who've got good legs, add an attacking threat as well, but they're probably more likely to sit and protect the back 4. Whereas you're looking at their sort of 3 in behind the front one to make that difference. So Price, I mean, that's the challenge for Portsmouth really. They're 3 in midfield. Can they match that challenge? Can they stick with it when Price is making forward runs? Can they stay with him and see out that danger really and stop that attacking threat?
Let's talk more about Jed Wallace. Obviously spent 4 years at Pompey. He's quite a name around these parts. People here will love him forever. He's one of those sort of players, isn't he? He scored against Pompey last season at the Hawthorns. He scored versus Wrexham last week. They've got players like this just to bring off the bench is quite a worry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the bench, I think a lot of them, their bench alone would probably get in most championship sides. That's how strong they are. It's a formidable group, that's for sure. But what Jed's Jed. He's enthusiastic. He comes on. He's vibrant. We know what he can do. We know how dangerous he can be. But and I'm sure he'd love to get on at some stage today because, as Paul rightly says, you always want to play against your old clubs for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think of the lineup at home? Get in touch with everything Pompey. 07457 413 694 on the WhatsApp. That QR code would also take you straight through as well, and is at Pompey on X. But now let's get the thoughts of head coach John Messino. We caught up with him earlier on in the week, and we started off by asking about the newest blue. We started talking about Josh Knight.
Yeah, we're delighted. Josh is a player that we've tracked for a long time. Obviously, being a player, we've obviously brought him over from Hanover, but he is a player that's played in the leagues here for a long time, and especially in that season where Peterborough were excellent, they were absolutely outstanding. I thought, and unlucky not to go up. He was one of the outstanding players and one of the shining lights in that season. I think bringing in a player that's 27, has played abroad, knows the league, and has got a lot of qualities that we look for in centre halves. We came in Monday morning and got ourselves dusted off, made sure that we had a look at the game, and it was a bit of a frustrating one really, because I think that we just took a bit too long to get going, and by the time we hit our straps and got ourselves into the game, it was just too little too late, which was really, like I said, it was frustration, I think was the word that we could probably use the most. I think we're going to regret the opportunity that we missed on Saturday, but ultimately we've got another really good chance coming up this weekend to put it right. I didn't think we actually started the game too badly at the weekend. We started pretty well and had a couple of corners in succession at the Milton end, and then it was just a couple of really poor bits of defensive work from those set plays that undid us in the first half. And I think a bit more intensity and a bit more aggression in certain areas, and I think we'll really take the levels of performance up a notch. I think whenever you go away from home, the first and most important thing is to try and keep a clean sheet and stay very, very solid at the back, and then see what we can produce off the back of that. And I think we're a much better side this year in terms of how we're set up and how we're ready to attack sides, so I'm looking forward to it. Having had a squad last year that I think was a playoff contender for the most part of the season, and probably count themselves a bit unlucky not to have finished slightly higher, particularly with the start that they had. So very, very competitive side. Ryan's come in, he's done brilliantly well. Obviously a coach who has spent a lot of time biding his time, working at a very, very big club to make sure that he does the right things and gets the right opportunity. And for everything we've seen so far, we've been really impressed with West Brom, so we expect a tough challenge.
So the thoughts of the gaffer there as we look ahead to this afternoon's clash against West Brom. Mark, we've talked a lot about the away form last season on the opening two games, but we've noticed some changes to that, especially when you consider the back end of last season and how we started against Oxford. So is it fair to say that we can let that go now?
Yeah, I think so. There has been a shift, and as you say, towards the back end of the season, we were starting to pick up results, and the way we started again this season. So yes, I think there has been a shift in the way that's happening. I think today we're going to have to get the first 20 minutes right. As John said, he was right, because the first 5-10 minutes against Norwich, they did actually start all right. They started quite brightly, but then didn't get the distances right, didn't get the shape quite right, and we're finding the awkward. And if you let teams like that play through you, especially West Brom at home, so I think it's all about matching up, as Paul said. Can we match up in that midfield? Can we make it? Can we win some battles? Can we get on top of it early? And can we press at the right times and go and try and do things right to put them under pressure and in front of their home crowd? And I think we're going to have to try and use all of that this afternoon.
Yeah, and what are the key areas for West Brom today in terms of the threat they can offer? Because we know there's quite a few in there, but I mean, where's the real main areas of concern today for you, Paul?
Yeah, like I say, Price. I mean, like you say, that three in behind, Hegbo up front. Obviously, they've brought him in for a bit more of a physical presence.
Nicknamed the Hulk.
There you go. So that tells you everything you need to know, I think. He'll be obviously looking to occupy Paul and Shaughnessy at the back there, and then just create that little bit of space, like Mark says. If you just let those distances get a little bit too big, that three in behind the front man they'll cause you problems and they'll cause you difficulties, because they're good players. They want the ball, they want to win that individual battle and get at you. So it's really good for Portsmouth, really important for Portsmouth to keep those distances nice and tight, make sure there's no gaps between the lines. And then, like we said, it comes down to winning your individual battles there. Staying with runners. Early on, they're going to have to face a bit of pressure. We know what it's like. They'll be at home. They're going to come at them and try and make it difficult. Can they ride out of that early pressure and then just start to establish themselves on the game? And like we said, it's not just then starting well, it's maintaining that throughout, because West Brom have got threats from the bench with Jed, got Devante Cole, you've got Carlon Grant, who obviously started last week, now finds himself on the bench. They've got threats all over.
Josh Madger being one of those.
Josh Madger as well, another one we didn't even mention. So they're all there.
Not mentioned that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I asked now.
So when you talk about a 90-minute performance, that's what they'll need. They'll need to be on that game for that 90 minutes. And then when those opportunities come, can they just be really ruthless? Yeah,
and we talked about our centre-back pairing enough today already, but let's talk about theirs. Nat Phillips and George Campbell, 2 new signings in. How's that going to play off? Because so far, it works all right, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, exactly. It's worked all right. Obviously, they conceded a couple at Wrexham last week, but that'd be Colby Bishop's thing. Can he play on any opportunities? Maybe a little bit of miscommunication between them. Maybe something where they're still trying to find that connection as a pairing, and that's where his little bit of opportunism even from Colby can find those gaps and really make it pay this afternoon.
Yeah, Mark, it was 1998 the last time Pompey took anything away from the Hawthorns in terms of a victory. Okay. Do they play on your mind as a player? We're obviously talking about a different lineup here. No. Obviously, no. Different staff. Does that play on your mind?
No, it doesn't play on your mind.
Would they even know that?
No, not really. Not really, unless Kev's telling them as they're going out the kit.
But last year, they're probably still kind of hurt from what happened there last year.
Yeah, 100%. That's what you'll remember. The lads that played in that game last year, they'll have that in their mind, of course. They'll want to go back and put it right. Stats that went on years before is not really of interest. But last season would have hurt a few of them, of course, because, going away from any ground feeling like you've been turned over quite convincingly is not a nice feeling. So I'm sure that will help spur some of the lads on that were involved last year, and I'm sure everybody in that squad is fully aware of what went on.
Yeah, and as we know, Paul, it's a marathon, not a sprint in the Championship, but 2 wins from 2 for West Brom so far. Considering how they managed to take the 3 points away from Wrexham last week, they had to really dig deep for that, didn't they? So how important is a good start in this division?
Yeah, good start. I think like anything, you want to get those first points on the board, get that first win on the board as well. It just kind of settles things down a little bit. I think at the start of any season, the longer you go without getting that win on the board, it does make it difficult. So I think it's really important. They obviously want to set out their stall nice and early. They've got aspirations of going up to the Premier League, so that's what they're going to try and do. A big part of that will be their home form. They have been good at home over recent seasons, last season as well. And I think that, again, they'll just be looking to build on that by being really strong at home, and then just can they improve their away form, and that's what they'll be looking to do.
Right, I'll be with you in a moment just to get some quick predictions from you both. We've got Reese on X here. He's been in touch saying we finally got our knight and our bishop. If only we still had King Carnu as well. They've been the full set. Shrewd on X saying, this lot a lot from last season. 2-1 Pompey. And we've also got, hi George, the team looks good. I think she's talking about us there. Hopefully a point would be good away from home. Shout out to my daughter Grace, who should be asleep, but has stayed up here down under in Adelaide. Play up Pompey. Play up Pompey indeed. So, Paul, I'm going to come to you first. A prediction, if you would.
I'm going to go 2-2 today. I think it's one that I think they'll offer a threat, but hopefully Portsmouth can match that threat and capitalise themselves.
A 2-2 there. And Mark?
I'm going to go 1-1, funnily enough. I think if we take a point today, it's a good point. And, I think it's going to be 1-1.
Excellent stuff. We'll be back with you guys at half-time. We'll see what happens in the meantime, but that is pretty much it from us for now. If you're watching on social media, your coverage ends here. So if you want to watch the game with us, if you're overseas, get yourself over to Pompey Plus. And if you're in the UK, then live match commentary is available for you. So the team will be back for you at half-time, but right now let's cross over to the Hawthorns as Pompey face off against the Baggies.